Brian Jodice, National Press Secretary of the American Federation for Children, here on the Chris Stigall Show. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, Bob, good to be with you and your listeners and viewers today. And I love that lead-in, getting to see that train station in Kansas City, Missouri. It's about 12, 13 years ago, we did a National School Choice Week whistle-stop tour, and we actually stopped through that station. And so kind of had some reminiscing there as I saw that pop up.
That is cool. That is great. Well, Brian, let's school choices, I think, I don't want to limit it to ideological conservatives, but parents who are worried about what kids have become and about indoctrination factories and so on and so forth have really pushed the school choice movement over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, maybe unlike any other time in its past. Where are we in January of 2026 during National School Choice Week? How is the momentum for complete what's the word I'm looking for? Autonomy for parents to decide where their kids go?
Yeah, Bob, all gas, no brakes. I mean, 2025 really was a historic year, and I don't say that lightly. You talk about massive expansion of school choice across the country, including what will be the nation's largest day one program when it opens up on February 4th in Texas. Over 1.5 million kids on a private school choice program across America will quickly be to 2 million here in the near future. 32 states with a school choice program. Nearly 20 of those have universal eligibility. I mean, it really is a golden age in American education, supercharged by this idea that families, students should be in the driver's seat of where their kids get to go to school. We've never seen more options on the table like what we have today, and that's why, boy, we sound the bell on this National School Choice Week. It really is an incredible moment in time. In fact, gosh, we've seen the President Trump and Secretary Linda McMahon championing this. And so that really shows you where we're at. It is full speed ahead for educational freedom across America.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because Linda McMahon will be my next guest on this program after you and I are done speaking. So we're going to talk a little bit about that at the federal level. Tell me about AFC. Tell me about your role in all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, that's right. So, we're just very fortunate to be in the forefront of this and to be one of the nation's leaders in advocating for parental school choice. And the idea is, look, your zip code shouldn't determine where your kid gets to go to school. Families should be in the driver's seat of that. And for far too long, families were told, look, if you have the means and the ability to get to that private school, to find those other options, that's great, but that's about it. And that's just not right. And so we've always advocated that families across the country, especially lower income families, should have equal access to the school that will best meet their needs. And that's what we've seen unlocked in states across the country, those 32 states I talked about, where parental school choice programs have been unlocked for them. But we've got more to be done. And you'll have Secretary McMahon on. We talked about President Trump's support, in that one big, beautiful bill that was passed in July and signed into law on the 4th of July is a federal scholarship tax credit that will revolutionize education in America. It can bring school choice to every single state, even blue states, even states that don't have the courage to pass the most modest of school choice programs. Families are going to be able to get access to school choice scholarships through donor-driven support. It's a dollar-for-dollar tax credit of up to $1,700. We've already seen 25 states opt in at this point. Utah, the latest, just last night. And so we're really excited to see the progress. We've got more work to be done to get it to every state in America, but it really is an incredible opportunity to put dollars in kids' backpacks, for donors to invest, right? For taxpayers to invest in this. Doesn't cost those states a dime, and it really is student-centered funding. It's incredible.
That's fantastic because, the pushback. We're talking to Brian Jodice. If you just turned on the radio, Brian is the National Press Secretary of the American Federation for Children, and online at federationforchildren.org as we celebrate National School Choice Week, because the pushback is still going to come. And they're going to claim any dollars that are going to, ed choice programs or school choice options for people are going to take dollars out of the schools, the public schools that serve the largest, number of students, which, of course, it is true in the public schools. But if these donors are if these dollars are being raised by donors and being funded by donors, the AFT and the NEA and the teachers associations who led the pushback against school choice, they really have nothing to argue here. They just have to get better at their jobs if they want people to keep their kids in their schools, right?
Well, Bob, I think we've seen time and time again they're willing to bend the truth at minimum, if not flat out just lie. I mean, they told you for a couple of years that kids couldn't go back to school. The data and science showed that kids could go back to school. And in this case, to hem and haw about sort of public dollars, first and foremost, those dollars don't belong to you. And candidly, they should be in the student's backpack. If a kid leaves a traditional public school and goes to a school choice program, the state can then invest in that student, usually at a fraction of the cost as what it would take to educate them in the traditional public public school. And so, look, more and more families are just saying enough is enough. We want the dollars to follow our kid to the school that best meets their needs. That's what we've unlocked through these school choice programs. But they'll continue to say, even when they're criticizing the federal scholarship tax credit, you're taking public dollars away. Pinocchio just whoop, right out the way here. Obviously, that's not the case. I just told you. You're talking about taxpayers, donor-driven support that then goes to support education in their state. And here's a quick question for all the governors that are on the fence about this or not sure if they want to participate. You mean to tell me, let's say Illinois chooses not to participate. Well, Indiana's in on the federal scholarship tax credit. You mean to tell me that those Illinois taxpayers aren't going to take advantage of this and donate to an SGO in Indiana? I bet they'll consider it. And so why would you want those dollars to go elsewhere? It makes no sense. It's why this is such a no-brainer for states to participate.
So let me throw a little monkey into the wrench here, if you will. Homeschooling. A lot of people are homeschooling advocates. I am a homeschooling advocate, and I think it's fantastic when parents can really, truly dedicate themselves to making sure that their kids are not being indoctrinated, that they are getting the educations they want. But how does that work with respect to the dollars flowing to staying in the backpacks of kids if the dollars are going to basically the parents of these kids, and the parents may or may not have literally the best interest of their kids at heart? They're homeschooling them because they get to take that money and do whatever they want with it. Maybe they're buying materials and things that their kids need to be educated, to follow the curricula of the school, and maybe they're not. So some people will say that unchecked school choice is going to lead to a lot of fraud and parents who aren't educating their kids at all, but they're taking those dollars.
Yeah, I think big picture, you always trust parents to know what's best for their kids, but there also are safeguards in place with school choice programs across the country. You see in different ESA programs the way in which that those dollars can be spent and have to be shown they're being spent on educational expenses. And so that's why you like the idea of, boy, if homeschool families could tap into this to use for some curriculum or technology. Obviously, there's no tuition that is associated with using a homeschool, but there are a lot of needs where families can be unlocked in programs like this and ensure that those dollars can go to help their kid and give them the autonomy to provide the education they feel is the best fit for their children. So safeguards in place and lots of ways in which you can ensure that educational dollars are being used. And look, all we've seen is kids get access to these programs across the country. Your home state of Ohio has shown rapid growth in educational freedom, kids outperforming their public school peers, more likely to attain college and graduate from four-year universities. So all signs are good. All signs are pointing in more growth. We're excited to see what's yet to come.
Do you guys have any numbers on homeschooling and how much it has grown this year or in the past X number of years? Any kind of a study?
Yeah, safe to say that it's grown over the last few years. You saw, Bob, we've all seen sort of the spike in what you consider sort of non-traditional education models, whether that be charters, private school, homeschool, really because of the pandemic. I think, to my point earlier, families were stuck in this position of never knowing when their kids are going back to school and looking for those alternatives. I think there was a group of families, take ours, for example. We had our kids home for a little bit before we were able to get them back in the classroom. And I think it affirmed for us that homeschooling wouldn't be the right fit, but I think for a lot of families it affirmed that it would be. So it continues to grow. We continue to see enrollment trends happening in the direction of more homeschooling options, more public charter school options, more private school choice options. And you'd anticipate that continue to happen. We use this example, this day and age of parent, right? This young new parent has a smartphone that's probably got hundreds of apps right there on their phone. They're just used to choice at every turn. Why would they not have that in education? So I think we'll continue to see that grow.
Yeah, 100%. Brian, we're talking to Brian Jodice. Once again, Brian is National Press Secretary of the American Federation for Children. One other element to this with respect to the cost and trying to make sure that every kid has that money, like you said, in their backpack to educate them and not necessarily in the public school is the transportation issue. I've been working with and helping promote for a few years now an alternative school called the the Northeast Ohio Classical Academy. It's one of the Hillsdale College Barney charter schools. They're amazing. And I was talking to one of the founders of that particular one, and one of the biggest problems is there's no busing. There has to be some sort of a way to get kids, because these schools don't have a close geographical district to draw from the way the public schools do. There are people from outer areas that want to come to this, but they don't have a way to get there. Is there an answer to providing funding for transportation to get kids to the school of their choice?
I think there's a few. First and foremost, school choice programs can often unlock the resources to be able to then go purchase or contract with a transportation agency. We've seen this in states across the country. I think the federal scholarship tax credit could potentially even help in that vein as well. But then there's also the opportunity to match good public policy with these programs. So I would tell you to consider advocating to your legislature about the way in which public charter schools in the state or in that area can then tap into more of those resources. You often hear about public charters getting 78, 80 cents to the dollar of what their traditional public school counterparts get, when these are also public schools as well. So advocating for increased funding allocations for transportation in the public charter space, always a fight worth having as well. So good public policy has to match up. Tapping into school choice programs where in which you can use for transportation assistance can be a help as well.
Boy, you weren't kidding. It is all gas, no brakes. You guys are, I mean, you're very positive, awesome momentum. And, you know, how significant has the change been? And I don't want to just go all politics here, but since the Trump administration started, you know, it's been a year now. How much has that, you know, that foot hit the gas because of the new administration?
Well, you saw this in 45, right? So in the first administration, President Trump was very vocal and was looking to get the ball really moving on educational freedom. Did a lot of work during those 4 years. Then you have a time period where you're fighting again, right? Where you're just fighting against an administration that doesn't want to help and candidly wants to bring you back. So to have the president back in the White House again, to have Secretary Linda McMahon bring that business acumen to the education department to really streamline this thing and move it in the direction of closing, and then to continue to focus on parents and students. You saw, look, in the reconciliation package, that federal scholarship tax credit was a major priority of that. They made sure it got over the finish line. That shows you what you need to know. This is the school choice president.
Fantastic. Very, very well done. I'm so happy to hear all of this.